It's a group we haven't spoken a whole lot about, although there have been hints about it throughout the entire 3-day gathering, and that is the people who are 25 to 54 years old is our focus. And it's sort of the upper end of the My Future NC continuum. So we've talked about the critical importance of early childhood education. We've really focused a lot on K through 12. We've talked about the transition to higher education, and this morning heard about the importance of persistence in higher education. But then there's this whole group of people that make up roughly 39% of all college students that are older than 25. And that's the group that we really want to focus on. Before I do that, though, and before I talk about that, I wanted to just give you a little bit of a sense of what Freebird alluded to. It's this 3-year effort that we have underway at the Institute for Emerging Issues at NC State. It's called Reconnect NC, and it comes from a crowdsourcing project that we did. Basically, a couple of years ago, we asked people what they thought the biggest issue facing North Carolina was. The biggest issue facing North Carolina. How many biggest issues do you imagine that there are facing North Carolina? Nobody guessed it. 158. There are 158 biggest issues facing North Carolina. But as we began to talk about these with people and sort of narrow it down and have focus groups and other things like that, we got it down to a manageable group of 34. We then, because it was March and NC State wasn't really doing anything in March, we formed a bracket of public policy issues. And figured, okay, well, we can compete on public policy issues even if we can't compete other places. And so we started narrowing it down. And the closer we got, really about the time we got to the Elite 8, we realized, sorry, it's really hard to be at NC State these days. By the time we got to the Elite 8, we realized there was this set of issues that all had something in common, and that was this belief that North Carolina and North Carolinians had gotten off track, had gotten disconnected in ways that we didn't feel comfortable with, and that there was this appetite to do something about it. And so that's where we started this effort. Started off talking about civic participation. The number of people that are participating in civic life has declined dramatically over the past few years, as you know. People not participating in civic clubs, not participating in church life, not voting with the same frequency that they used to, those sorts of challenges. And so we tried to identify 5 places across North Carolina, what Anita would call bright spots, 5 bright spots in North Carolina where people were doing something about that. And we lifted them up, and they're our champions. And for the next 2 years, they're going to be working on efforts that we think can be a model and a beacon and a shining point of light to other people in the state. Then we looked at rural-urban issues and found 5 places that where a rural area was collaborating with an urban area for their mutual benefit. They were coming together to try to figure out things and figure out ways that they could be successful together rather than talking smack about each other. Next February, we'll be talking about technological opportunity and the power that technology has to bring people together rather than drive them apart. Then we'll be talking about well-being and the things that we might be able to do to help people who are off track because of mental health concerns or chronic disease or who have addiction issues. How can we bring them back together? How can we reconnect them to the main part of civic life in North Carolina? But the topic I really wanted to talk about today is economic opportunity. What can we do for those folks who are in their careers but are stuck? They're not going anywhere. This is a group of people that is not warm and cuddly necessarily. They aren't as cute as younger folks, but they are the essence of what North Carolina is and does and can become. So here's who they are. 25 to 54-year-olds are, this actually hurts for me to talk about these days, but they are in the prime of their working life. So for any of you who are not 25 to 54, just understand that according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you are subprime. So it's been hard for me to get used to. But if you think about this group of people, they are also parents of the kids who are in our schools. They are the children of aging parents that they need to take care of. They are spouses who are part of a relationship with other people. They are the people who coach our children in the afternoon. And if they're working 2 jobs, they're less likely to be able to do that. They are our mentors. They are human beings, and they are facing disruption in a way that they never have before. It's not just that they are, in many cases, stuck in their jobs. But a couple of years ago, when Anita was still leading the Institute for Emerging Issues, we did a study that was called Future Work, and we looked at the likelihood that jobs were going to disappear in North Carolina over the next 20 years. The darker areas you will see are the places that are most likely to lose the highest percentage of jobs. So the darkest areas are places where roughly 40% of jobs that currently exist will not be around by 2040. The lighter areas are places where a greater percentage of those jobs are going to still be in place. So if you think about 25 to 54-year-olds, they are in a career, and if they're in the lower part of the income spectrum, which we're defining as 80% of median income, if you are there, you're having trouble moving up right now. Think about how much more complicated that problem is if you add in all the jobs that are going away as a result of artificial intelligence and automation. So think about those jobs. Those are truck driving jobs, likely to go away over the next few years. They are cashiers' jobs. They are the things that can be automated. Hospitality jobs. A lot of jobs in this hotel are going away over the next few years. We know that that is coming. And there are other jobs that are slightly higher income. There are paralegal jobs that are out there. There are accounting jobs that are going away. But the folks that are going to be most vulnerable and the folks that are going to be most challenged by this transition are those 25 to 44-year-olds who have the least amount of education. So if we can find ways to intervene with that group, then I think we have a much brighter future in North Carolina. Here's what this group looks like. And this chart is sort of the inverse of the chart that Lumina and others have developed. This is the percentage of people who have a high school degree only in North Carolina. So the lighter the color, the higher the percentage of people who have more than a high school degree. The darker the color, those are the places that are most likely to have the highest number of people that have a high school degree only. And that's the group that we're really focusing on in our conference in Charlotte in October of 2015. My plea is that as we think about the My Future NC Challenge of getting 2 million more 25 to 44-year-olds ready for the workplace, that we think about this group as an integral part of the solution. If we ignore this group, we are ignoring the parents of those children that are coming through the system. And we're ignoring those folks who are the lifebloods of our community right now. Not that my blood is not lively. But 25 to 54-year-olds, we think, are a really important part of the solution. If we take these adults seriously, then we help everybody. We help their children, we help their parents, we help their communities in a fundamental way. We think there are 3 key ways that these folks can get some additional assistance. We think there's a heavy responsibility that employers have. The easiest way for someone to move up is to move up within the company where they work. The easiest place for a company to find talent that they can work with is in their own backyard. So we're going to challenge companies, and we're looking for companies across North Carolina that are doing creative work to uplift their own workers, to retain their workers and move them up over time by giving them training and education interventions that enable them to be successful. We think that it's very important that not just the community college system, but also universities find ways to reach out to this group of people. Remember, 39% of people who are in college right now are in that older than 25 age group. So we think it's really important that we find ways to reach out to that group by offering more convenient classes. Jennifer Haygood from the community college system and I are on a search committee right now for the vice provost of continuing education at NC State. And I've told every candidate that's come through that I think it's the most important job that NC State's hiring for this year. We've got to find a way to do a better job of providing ongoing lifelong education for people so they can get on the on-ramp of education no matter what their age is. So there's a critical role for community colleges, for universities, for employers. There's a critical role for support services, those folks that can help these folks get transportation, can get the child care they need, can get the other supports that they need in order to be successful in college. So We think there's also a role for K through 12 systems, by the way. There's some innovative work going on right now, including by LeBron James, who's starting an academy that's saying it's not just about the children, it's also about the parents of those children. And so he's trying to find ways at his LeBron James Academy to find ways to get parents and students in the same room at the same time, getting the educational interventions that they need. So we're looking right now for 5 places that are doing really creative work in this space to reach out to adult workers aged 25 to 54 and get them the educational interventions that they need so that they can move up. We think if we're successful, if we can find those places, if we can lift them up, and if we can get other people to replicate them, we will have stronger adults in our community. That will result in stronger children in our community. That will result in stronger schools in our community, and that will result in a better North Carolina. So thanks for any support you can provide for this effort. Remember the 25 to 54-year-olds.